Now, real excited to, share with you how all this data can just flow right from the Canopy Connect into your QuoteRUSH instantly. So instead of, you having to manually collect all this data and then manually, key it into a carrier's website. Maybe you got 10 carriers you got to go to. Manually keying it. Maybe the prospect's got 5 VIN numbers. You got to manually, collect those 5 VIN numbers, declaration pages, and enter that stuff into 5 different, 10 different carriers, maybe even more. And that's just the auto aspect. Then we got the home, we got everything else that goes along with it. That's where we come into play. QuoteRUSH and Canopy Connect. With Canopy Connect, we get you all the data that you need to quote these prospects. With QuoteRUSH, they flood that data right out to your carriers instantly to get the most accurate quotes back seamlessly, instantly for your team. Now, where does, QuoteRUSH and Canopy Connect come into play? What time do we start using this stuff? Right at the beginning. Right at the beginning of that conversation, as soon as they're interested in getting a quote, we're using Canopy Connect to collect the data. And by having them use the Canopy Connect link, bridges that data right in your QuoteRUSH without you even having to do anything. Just pre-fills 80 to 90% of what you need to quote that prospect instantly, right into the QuoteRUSH, and you're able to get that right out to your carriers instantly. Now, I'd love to show you all how the Canopy Connect works here. Now, again, my internet is being a little buggy, so if I drop off, I apologize. But again, we got main man Ray here to help me out. Thank you, Ray, for being on the call here, and Matt for being also able to help out with my internet here. Now, let me share my screen here.
I'm going to pull up my link here. It's a little different than Casey's link, but same difference. By the way, everyone, I'm Ray. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Canopy Connect. So this is the Canopy Connect link that you'd send to your prospect. You've got it branded. You've got your logo up here. You've got an icon here. You can swap either of these out, whether you want that to be your logo, you want that to be your headshot, um, whatever you want to do. You can customize uh, some of this messaging up here as well. This first screen, they're basically consenting to share their policy information with you. Straight through here, they will find their current insurance carrier. And we've got 350 carriers here from personal and commercial lines. But hey, just for fun, let's go pick USAA today. I'm going to put some dummy credentials in here. What they would do is they would log in with their credentials. And hit submit, and in just a matter of seconds, we're going to go through, we're connecting with the carrier, we're pulling all that information. On average, we're looking at under 6 seconds to pull that information. You'll see that we've already returned and we know what vehicle is connected to this particular policy. If they had an additional vehicle, they could add it here. Or they can just say like, yep, that looks about right. But we're going to pull that vehicle, year, make, model, VIN number as well. If they want to add a vehicle, they can go in here and enter it using the year and VIN, and it'll go look that up. Or you can go and look up and just type in the year, make, and model itself. I'm going to skip that for now. Just hit done. We're also going in and we're pulling in the driver information and we're presenting it here so they could verify any of the information that was pulled through. So we go Clark Kent, his date of birth, his driver's license. And some of these fields, like I put all the fields in here because I want everyone to see everything. But minimally, you can just be like, hey, I just want to verify their date of birth and driver's license and send that through. Clark Kent obviously is our demo hero. If you got to add another driver, you can add another driver. You want to add a Lois Lane, you can do that right here. Again, in this scenario, we can ask with Canopy Connect, we can ask a whole bunch of questions that you want, or you can just keep it simple and be like, hey, I just verify some information and we're done. So in this case, I've got kind of the longer tail scenario where you can confirm and edit all your property information. Sometimes you can, if you want, again, depending on how robust you want to make it or how quickly, if you want it to be more higher converting, cut all this stuff out. Don't ask any additional questions. Sometimes you do need to ask some extra questions. You can create, like, this is a screen just full of custom questions, which we'll show you on the back end in a minute, how to create those. But these are questions that are kind of non-standard questions that you can create, and you can ask whatever you want, right? Any aftermarket modifications to your vehicles, things like that. A lot of you guys, I think, are coming in from Florida or wherever, and you got to you have strict rules about like questions you need to ask around their roof and that sort of thing. So that's it. We're done. If they had another carrier they wanted to connect, maybe they've got an auto with one carrier and home with another carrier, they just go to import the carrier and start that whole process over. One more thing I did want to show real quick is when you're going through here and entering your username and password, like sometimes you don't remember your password to your insurance carrier. We make it super easy that you can just click forgot password, and it's going to deep link them to the password reset on that carrier's page. So in this case, I picked Allstate, and it's jumping straight back to resetting your password with Allstate's page. Similarly, you can go in and you can have them create an account. It's an option there. Personally, I don't necessarily want to give them more hooks into their current carrier because I'm trying to, pull them away. But that option is there, and then we can also have them instead of doing the login, just simply upload your deck page. You'd upload a deck page, and we've got this deck site technology that goes in, and you see we've seen like I want to say well over 3 to 4 million insurance policies come through our systems over the years. So we know what every single deck page looks like. And we've done our AI machine learning that goes in and we can identify, hey, that deck page looks like it came from Farmers or, some long tail insurance carrier. And we know how that data looks and how that data is structured. So we can pull that out and that's all going to look really nice in your dashboard. So how does that look when you come in and you get it, right? So we will refresh this page. We'll find my guy, Clark Kent from USAA. Yes, everyone's here is Clark Kent, but that's what demo instances are for. Yep, so this is the submission page that you would see as the agent. You can see all their contact information, mailing address, all that stuff comes through. You can see their policies here. You can see they've got an umbrella, a homeowners, and an auto that all pulled through. So you want to look at the details of your homeowners. You've got your policy premiums. You've got all your coverages listed out here, coverages, limits, deductibles. And as you go through with homeowners insurance, with other property, we'll go ahead and also enrich that data. So we'll enrich that with property data that comes from county assessor data sources typically. But you're going to get, look, all this information, year built, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, roof type, roof shape, all that crazy stuff, as well as who the actual owners are of this property. So that all comes through. And when you send this over to QuoteRUSH, which we'll show in a sec, all that information pushes over as well. You also see lien holder information here as well. We'll kind of pop into the auto. Again, very similar year, make, model, VIN. That all came through. Coverages, limits, liabilities, all comes through as well as the lien holder. As we keep going down, we've got the driver information, and I don't know why Clark Kent would. It's not doing much for secret identities here, but his occupation is superhero. We got to talk to our engineers, update that to reporter. Hey, maybe you get a better discount for being a superhero. I'd give you a discount. We're pulling in driving records, and this is dependent a little bit on each carrier. Different carriers provide different information that comes back. But we get driving records from that carrier. We get claims history as well. If this was a commercial lines pool, you'd also get loss information as well. These are here are those custom questions that I did not answer, but the ones that were asked on that particular form. Um, and then down here is a bunch of our integrations. I actually, in my instance, do not have it connected to QuoteRUSH, but what would happen is they would be able to just either click one of these and hit send to QuoteRUSH, or I think in the default configuration, this data, as soon as it comes in, is automatically sent right over to QuoteRUSH. So that's the Canopy Connect part of the workflow. Just a couple extra bells and whistles that maybe I'll talk to before I hand it over to Matt on what happens on the other side is configuring your links. So I showed you the links earlier. Um, you can pop into your link and you can look at, I'll actually look at mine specifically. This was the link I actually used. You can edit that. You can see this is where you can change the URL. You can change the icon and the logo. You can change the button color, change some of the verbiage here. At the end of the process, there is, after that little fun confetti screen, you can have it redirect back to your website, back to wherever you want it to go. Maybe there's another, something else you want them to link to. You can say, allow upload manual document uploads, which I showed you. Do you want to show personal carriers, commercial carriers, life carriers? All that goes in here as well. And then you'll see here a link flow. I have the expanded link flow. That's why my experience was really long. And you can, I think mostly administrators can configure these different flows for the different links. When we go into flows, this is where you can kind of configure uh, what that experience looks like. Again, the default flow, and I'll show you this one first, is just this, right? They see the screen, they consent, they find their insurance carrier, they sign in, and they're done. They could verify a little bit of information, usually the drivers and vehicles, and they're done. You want to add some more stuff, you can go in here and add additional sections. So some of these ones that we have built out, I think I was using expanded flow. Um, I've got these optional screens that I've created, right? So allowing our user to skip this login experience because maybe we just want them to do an upload or we just want to see them um, just fill this out as kind of a intake form experience. We could do that. Um, we can also choose these different screens, right? The vehicle screen, the add driver screen, like we can choose to include or exclude those as needed. And even within, say, the add a driver, right? I showed you guys this. You can make all these fields optional, hidden, or required. So I've got everything open as optional, but some of these, like you might be like, hey, I want to keep this, short, I want to keep it tight. Let's just hide some of these fields, right? It sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't, but you can just modify that stuff. Um, and then continuing down to like the custom questions. Again, I just created these and you can reorder them. It's just text. You've got a few different options if you want it to be a only accept text, number, yes, no, date, select, or we've got a new one that's a file upload. So maybe you want to say, hey, I need your driver's license picture or something. Um, you can create an upload option there, or photos of your roof or anything like that. If you want that to be in this particular part of your process, again, it's flexible to how you want to work, but you'd create that flow here. I don't want to save those changes, and then you can attach them to the appropriate links, and that's that. So I know some questions have been coming up through here, but in the interest of time, I do want to hand this over to Matt to talk through the QuoteRUSH part of things.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Ray. I really appreciate it, and all that
Yeah.
information about the Canopy Connect side of things. Let me get my screen shared real quick. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Please give me a shout out in chat if you're having any trouble hearing me.
You've never looked better.
Should be able to see my screen now. Okay, so yeah, guys, we've already kind of talked a little bit about, the Canopy Connect side, saving you time in the way of gathering data from your clients, getting more accurate policy information, along with a lot of the information that, generally stands between you guys and an accurate quote for your client. Ultimately, I'd say if you asked any agent, the most costly thing in an agency is time. Time is by far the most valuable thing at any agency. And so ultimately, that's the whole idea behind QuoteRUSH, is to look at the individual time increments that are spent with regard to the whole workflow from beginning to end of gathering data, ensuring that data is accurate, and then following suit to make sure that the accurate data then gets transferred over to the carrier sites. Now, what's really cool about the two systems working in conjunction is they do kind of have this really symbiotic connection that really benefits both sides, right? With the Canopy Connect being set up, it ultimately means that you are facing the client with far fewer challenges to get the information over to you. And as a former agent, I can tell you that's always been a challenge for me, was getting a client nailed down long enough to actually get the information out of them if they knew the information at all. Worst come to worst, if they don't know it, they get nervous, they fill out the wrong information on a form, then you're battling against inaccuracies that don't necessarily have to be necessary. And that's one of the beautiful things about Canopy Connect. So, if we have any QuoteRUSH users that are already in today's call that are also Canopy Connect users, and you are looking to set up this integration, I do want to point out something really cool that Casey let me know he wasn't aware of. Over here in our marketplace area, where we talk about the different vendors that we have available, you'll actually find a link down here to just add the integration. So if you do already have your links active, you guys can go ahead and set up the integration. Now, what is the integration going to do for me? How is it going to save me time? Well, historically speaking, agents are tasked with calling a client, asking them for all these questions, and making sure that everything's accurate. With Canopy Connect being integrated, all of a sudden, a lot of that time spent is being cut out to the point where you guys get the chance to really dedicate your time to using your expertise as opposed to doing button clicks and keystrokes on a keyboard. So the way that's going to work for you inside of this system is when you send the information through the integration into our system, you're going to start seeing automatically information just popping up. And in fact, I think I've got Casey pulled up in here. I do. So it actually pulled up a little bit of information here. And this was sent over through the Canopy Connect system, and it's going to include a fair amount of information. So as you can see, we were able to gather 2 policies, a couple of documents, 2 different drivers, some prior claims, as well as a couple of addresses associated. And if I wanted more information on that, I can always come down here and actually review the policy documents, right? I'll also see some of that enriched data that, comes through pre-filled in my lead. So if I were to edit this, a lead coming through from the Canopy Connect system is automatically just going to have some information inside of these areas that otherwise would be completely blank. And the agent would be tasked with going and gathering that data, filling it into the system, or, utilizing other tools in our system to make sure that that information is accurate. Since it's an integration, basically when it's completed by the client, it instantly, just like they mentioned, comes over to our system. And we give you guys a little dashboard over here on the far left-hand side. It says Canopy Connect. Actually gives you a list of things that have been submitted recently, so you can quickly review the details, or if you'd prefer, jump straight over to that specific lead to get a closer look at what's transferred over. I do want to point out the documentation coming over as well. That's a really handy feature for you guys to be able to have everything all in one place to quickly access. So yeah, definitely helpful for you guys in that fashion. I also wanted to point out that we do have an automated renewal system built into our management system, Client Dynamics. And this is actually a feature that we've started to integrate in here. We have what's called a reshop portal over here. And typically when agents go to reshop their clients, they find themselves needing to reach back out to those clients and get additional information. With Canopy Connect, you can actually leverage your Canopy Connect links in an email that gets sent out to them X amount of time prior to the reshops being run. And that way they get a chance to utilize the Canopy Connect system again to update their information. Now, we also have the ability for you guys to, send out a form for them to review their information, but why do that if you could just send them a link and say, hey, click a couple buttons and let us just transfer everything over. So, whether you're talking about brand new clientele or you're talking about an existing client in the system that you're about to reshop, we've got you covered. Ultimately, is the most important thing to remember. I just wanted to refer back to some questions that I saw earlier in the chat. Main difference between QuoteRUSH's quoting renewals without Canopy Connect versus with Canopy Connect. When you quote without Canopy Connect with your renewals, you are going to have to gather that information from the client. We do help you with that. We do have these web forms that you can send out that say request information update link. So you can always build out forms in our system. And again, I encourage you guys to use any form of technology that makes it easier on your clients. But ultimately, that's adding steps. That's adding more questions that they may need to fill that could be redundant process for them if they're willing to just put in their carrier login information and have Canopy Connect do the work for them. So that really would be the main difference, is you're not needing to do near as much in the way of data gathering because it's all just automatically being filtered in and updated with the links. I know there was another question in here asking about permits, so I did want to touch on that for a second as well. If you look over in the information section of any of your leads in the QuoteRUSH system, which I have moved away from the client that I was meaning to show. So here we go. In this test lead right here, you can actually see we do pull permits right over here inside of the QuoteRUSH system. That is available in both the desktop and the web. So even if there's permit information or things that you guys are looking to gather and you're not finding that come in through the Canopy Connect side, that is a big part of what we're here to help with, is to help gather more details, more updates, all the information that you guys need to make sure that this information is accurate when it does go into the carrier sites. So definitely some features that I think a lot of folks would be, really excited to take advantage of. Ultimately, what Canopy Connect and QuoteRUSH in conjunction with each other means is just more time for you guys to focus on what matters most, and more time for you guys to utilize your expertise instead of sunk time costs that doesn't really need your expertise to be dedicated to it. I'm just looking back through questions, making sure we grabbed everything. Okay, so we do have a question here asking about, if a carrier is not pulling information into Ivan's. Ray, maybe you'll be able to assist with this one. Basically, she was told that the add-on for QR automatically quoting renewals once the Ivan download comes in is contingent on the carrier participating with Ivan's. So it sounds like she has some carriers that don't participate in Ivan's. Would Canopy Connect be the ideal method for them to gather that information from those carriers?
Yes, I believe so. That would be, again, you'd have to go through the consumer permissioned kind of workflow to pull that information. So you'd almost be requesting that information from the client. So it's up to you if that's kind of an avenue that you want to go through. But yeah, we can get that. I mean, it's a good way to get that current information from the carrier and pull it in. We have I don't know, it probably too early to say this, but in the not too distant future, we're gonna have an ability to do some cooler stuff where some of those Ivan's downloads are less real time than you'd like them to be, or less robust.
Cool.
We're going to be able to pull all that information, but that's a future thing. That's a teaser.
Love it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, always thinking forward. And, you know, I mean, that in and of itself is already meeting a need, you know, just like she said, there are carriers that aren't necessarily pushing that information at all. And if that's the case, then agents are finding themselves, you know, sinking a lot of time into transposing data when, you know, luckily with y'all's system, it sounds like they could just send that interface that you showed over to the client and say, hey, you know, I'm not able to grab this automatically, but I can save you some time. If you wouldn't mind just, you know, interacting with this link, we can go ahead and get you moving, which is great. That's awesome news. I do have a question in here asking about how to set up the integration. If you do need help with that, Demian, I would suggest checking out our marketplace area over in QuoteRUSH. It's on the left-hand side. And once you're in here, you can scroll down. Canopy Connect's right here, and there is an add integration option right there. Of course, if you have any trouble with that, please feel free to reach out to our support team. It's support@quoterush.com. If you want to reach them by email, just include some contact information so we know who we're reaching, and we'll make sure to reach out to you about that.
Yep. And I know there's a few questions that popped up in the chat about Boston software and single point, which is not related to QuoteRUSH, but just since it's been asked like four times in the chat, that's something that we are hoping to work with, but nothing in the immediate future. It's like we want to, so that's all. That's all I have to say about that. We had some other questions just now for questions on other AMS systems. So we do have an integration with Hawksoft. It's more of a you can download and import into Hawksoft. 5 or 6, I think either works. And it'll pull all that information, and then you can have it all there in Hawksoft. And yeah, what else was there? Now certs we're in talks with, but that's TBD. And agency Zoom, yes, we integrate with as well. So you can check out if you go to usecanopy.com/integrations, or just kind of in the top, you can find our integrations. You can find a list of, we got like 20 some integrations that you can take a look at. And someone else was asking about which carriers we have. Like, it's a really long list. If you want to see the actual list, I would recommend emailing Casey. His email is casey@usecanopy.com. Maybe he can drop that in the chat. If you just want to casually browse this, I just posted my link. This is the Canopy Connect link that I just used, but you can literally just scroll through that and search for anything that maybe you commonly see. You can take a look at. But dude, we've got 350 carriers, which covers some 96% of the auto market and 91% of the homeowners market and 61% of the commercial market. So, yeah, we got most of the carriers.
Yeah, it looks like there's another question in here that I would like to just point out, asking about what about brand new clients that do not have an active policy. I believe on both ends, actually, there's the opportunity for you guys to build forms out to ask those pertinent questions. Although if there's no active policy data that they're going to be logging into, you might be interested in leveraging the forms that are built directly into the QuoteRUSH system. That is something that is available with our system included in the account. There's no additional cost necessary for that. So, if acquiring lead information from folks that aren't currently insured is something that you're looking to, leverage some technology to do, and you're looking for QuoteRUSH to do that for you, just let us know. support@quoterush.com. They'll happily help set you up with some time to work with our team and figure out how to get those forms working for you. I have another question here about whether the information from Canopy Connect will bridge into the client database. Yes, so that's the idea, is that, you know, when the links are completed, you'll actually see here in the Canopy Connect system, or the Canopy Connect tab of our system, rather, those leads as they come in. When you go review them, any of the details that we were able to gather from the Canopy Connect system will be pre-filled inside of that lead and updated. I think this one's going to be more for you, Ray, about the signed individual agents by link in Canopy Connect.
I don't see the question, but I'll do it. Yeah, you can create a bunch. You can create a bunch of links in Canopy Connect, and you can assign an individual agents. As an administrator, you can see everyone's, and so it just depends on how you view. But if you create one link and just give one agent the ability to view that link, then they'll get all the alerts related to that link.
Perfect. Yeah, and with our system, you would be able to, you know, if you were pulling the information in here, you just see it come in as soon as they sent that over as well. So let's see here. Yeah, I'm getting to those single point questions you were talking about, Ray.
Matt, this might be a good opportunity to bring in our special guest here. We've got Laura, Laura Boley on the call. I mashed your name together, from Hilb Group. Laura, maybe if you want to hop on and I don't know, maybe tell us a little bit about your experience with Canopy Connect and with QuoteRUSH.
Sure. We used Canopy Connect for quite a few years. Every year I notice, and even watching this little webinar, I see new things that I haven't gone in and played with. So they're always coming out with something. So I suggest you always do a random webinar with them to learn more. But a couple years ago, we switched raters and CRMs, and they both integrated with Canopy Connect, and QuoteRUSH is the newer rater we're using, and the ability to just have everything go straight into the system, and we just log in, start quoting, makes it very easy and efficient. We started using Canopy Connect a lot, really, to try and get proof of prior for compliance reasons, because that's the hardest thing for people to sometimes send to you. And it's very simple to log in. You know, I've done it. I didn't remember my carrier password, did the forgot password, got it quickly. So we've started using it in different ways, creating the different links so that you can track if you're running a promotion, you're running a contest, who can get the most by making those unique links. I mean, that's very helpful.
I like that. Just creating a little competition internally.
Right, right. 'Cause then you can see, and you know, who's getting more or who's using it the best to our ability. We're trying to play more with it within templates that we're sending out for different campaigns that we use through our CRM to try and get more engagement and get more, especially on the lead basing, to get those deck pages. I don't have any clever secrets that I could share. I would share, but I haven't found that yet, but we keep playing with it. I mean, everybody's easy to work with at Canopy Connect. You can always reach out. Casey's done multiple webinars or questionnaire things with us, and I've used the chat a lot, and they've been great. So
yeah, thanks, Laura. Yeah, we have a little chat bot in our app that is always available to you guys to access help articles or to talk to a real person. And yeah, we do, for most of our plans, we offer one-on-one onboarding. So you can bring your team in and just do a full training and orientation around it. And then we also run just daily drop-in session. So if maybe you have a new producer that joined, then you just want to get them up to speed and let them know what's going on, like they can always join one of those training sessions as well. So we always want to make sure that that you're taken care of, and everyone is able to use it, because like Laura said, we make updates and improvements, and we tell people about it. But again, like, hey, your email inboxes are busy, and you certainly have we want you to be busy. We just don't want you to be busy doing the things that you don't need to be doing, like sitting on the phone and asking a whole bunch of questions and all that stuff. So um, Laura, how's your experience been um, with the QuoteRUSH side of things?
QuoteRUSH is amazing. They're very easy to work with. Have a question, they will gladly answer your question, or if you have an idea, gladly talk it out through you. So I can't say enough about QuoteRUSH and their entire team. Can I answer a question to Salvatore? I
Yeah.
don't have a percentage to give on people logging in and sending the deck page. That I think is what our hardest thing is, and what we play with is, creating the button that they click on and trying to get them excited or curious to click on that. We keep trying different things to find what's the most successful, but I don't really have any real numbers on that. Nobody's really complained to us that they're afraid to do it, because it literally takes you straight to the carrier's website.
Yeah, depending on how, like, the use case and how it's being used, what I hear, and we haven't done like an empirical study, but um, when it's sort of in response or in reply to someone actually requesting a quote, the the conversion rate on the Canopy Connect link is very high. It's in the 70 to 90% range, pretty consistently. Um, the reason we don't have perfect numbers on it is people use Canopy Connect in a lot of different ways. They'll use it for running a contest to do like uh, complementary policy reviews and things like that. There's different use cases of using this. Some people use it more in like a marketing way, which obviously your conversion rates on those are going to be much lower, because it's kind of a pretty heavier lift if it's coming from like a prospecting email or anything like that. So, but in response to like a quote process, if that's in that quote intake process, you're looking at somewhere between 70 to 90%. Just depends on the agency, though.
And Ray, I'd like to just pop in with an answer to a question I saw a couple times in chat. I approached this with the expectation that everybody in this call already knows how awesome QuoteRUSH is. I did want to take a moment and address, what QuoteRUSH itself is as a software. We consider ourselves a quote automation platform, which is a little bit more robust in intention than a traditional rater. I see a couple of other names of raters tossed out there. Basically, the concept behind QuoteRUSH was to build a platform where you can convey as much information over to us as possible, so that we can alleviate as much interaction in the carrier sites as possible while building the form. So the idea is to complete a form inside of each carrier for the client and for the agent, so that they're not individually interacting with those carrier sites to get the data entered. But we also provide a lot more in the way of tools and data gathering functions to allow them to get a much more robust profile built out, which means less time fighting things like replacement cost estimators and carrier sites that generally tend to front load a lead's information with less than accurate details. So basically alleviating a lot of the back and forth between the client and the carrier, making sure that numbers match up.
Yeah, James, who's from QuoteRUSH, says, I believe Canopy Connect has some workflow tools as well. Yeah, so I demoed some of that workflow setup. I know there were some questions about it. Some people don't see it and whatnot. I need to double check, but I think the workflow, like the flows component there is an admin visible feature. So if you do not have admin access, you might not see the ability to like edit the flows, but you can choose which one to attach to your links that you have access to. And some people, we've got a variety of plans that have kind of evolved over time. So some people are on some of our older legacy plans, or if you're on our starter plan or scratch plan, you may not have access to some of these more advanced features in the custom forms and custom flows part. If you pop into your Canopy Connect account and you go into kind of your admin view, you should be able to see what plan you're on. And if you're not on like a Plus or what's the other one called? Elevate plan, you may not have access to some of these features. But if you want to upgrade, you want to trial them at all, you can either email Casey or you can go in just through your chat thing and say you want to try out or you want to explore some of your options, and they'll kind of give you all the detailed information that you need. You can try it out for 7 days, see if that's something that you find worthwhile, and if it's not, you can go back to the plan you were on. No hard feelings, but we do think you'll find some tremendous value in it in doing so. Matt, if people want to learn more, where do they go?
Yeah, so we are always happy to answer questions. If you are a current user of QuoteRUSH and you've just got a little more in the way of questions on how all of this works, I'm going to go ahead and pop our support email in the chat. It's support@quoterush.com. We keep it real complicated with the emails over here. If you're already checking out chat and you're interested in checking out QuoteRUSH, we do offer a free trial of the software as well as a onboarding process where we work one-on-one with the agencies to get them comfortable with the systems. Feel free to reach out to steve@quoterush.com for sales purposes. If you are looking to get set up with that free trial, he's the man to get you all that information. Ultimately, though, I'm also going to pop my email in because I'm also a former agent. I've got a little bit of experience running quotes and doing all that kind of stuff. So if you just have any basic questions that you wanted to throw my way, feel free. Overall, we want to make sure that you guys get all the answers that you need. So even if it comes my way, I will make sure to get it to the appropriate me. So.
Yep. And on my end, on the Canopy Connect end, I posted a link there you can check out our pricing and our plans. You can sign up directly there. You can go to the bottom there and book a demo, or you can just email Casey at usecanopy.com and he will take care of you.
I'm also popping QuoteRUSH pricing in the link now.
All right, guys, thanks so much. And like both of our products are probably a lot more than what we were able to show you guys here today. So I do encourage you guys to book a demo with either of us and just kind of ask your questions and dive a little deeper and get kind of a more personalized experience there. I think it'll be really helpful and enlightening. So thanks so much, and till next time. Have a great day.